I don't think fudge is supposed to sound like this.
Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. Know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hey, this is Patrick with Trusty Mercantile. Welcome to my channel. Once again, I'm in a new location, but this time only about 6 feet away from where I normally sit, because right over there is the piano where I usually do my videos, and right here is the kitchen, which is right next to it. And the reason I'm in my kitchen is to film the video, which I have put a challenge out to everyone else to film a video on. Hashtag Trusty's birthday party. Yes, that is correct. On October 12th, I turn 51. And thanks to COVID, I didn't get to do anything for my 50th, and looking pretty non-special for my 51st. So I've decided to put out a birthday challenge and / collaboration for the YouTube and Instagram communities to join with me to create a vintage recipe that, had you actually been invited to my birthday party, a dish that you would have made to bring to me to eat or drink. We're not being specific. And it's the only tricks or the only specifics for the challenge is that the recipe does need to be vintage, which means for this definition, it had to come out before 1970, the year I was born. And then the video needed to capture some level of creating the recipe, showing the recipe itself, then creating the recipe, and then most importantly, eating that recipe on air, making sure. So if you wanted to make me eat some of those nasty Jell-O recipes that are circulating, well, joke's on you, because I'm not the one that gets to eat it. You do. But I do have to make my own video for my own recipe. So I am starting with a vintage recipe that came out of this book. It happens to be from Borden, the Borden Kitchen, recipes from the Borden Kitchen. And Borden is actually a company that exists, it's only a couple towns over, and the Borden brand does still exist. So it's one of those cases, it may not be 100% nationwide, that I'm not sure, but at least here in the Chicago area, because Borden is a very big name, the Elgin Public Library is named the Gail Borden Library. It's a big brand name that's still around, still has significance. But they had a vintage recipe book, which I decided to use. Now, the recipe book itself, unfortunately, did not ever have a copyright on it, but just based on the graphics, a couple people, we looked at it, and based on some of the contents, we're thinking 50s, maybe going into the 60s, but definitely, we would say before 1970, so we think this fits the requirements for the challenge. So I'm using the recipes from the Borden Kitchen. And within the recipe book, I'm making the recipe for Light Opera Fudge. So I'm starting with a relatively simple recipe, maybe, but I don't typically bake. So what could be simple for you may not necessarily be simple for me. So we shall see how this goes. So the recipe, in the ingredients at least, seemed relatively straightforward. I pretty much scanned through all the vintage recipe books that I could find, cookbooks that I could find, and steered clear of anything that required me to separate an egg. I'm sorry, I'm willing to take on some new challenges, but separating egg has never been a skill set that I have. I can do it. I usually have to go through multiple eggs to make it happen, but I can do it. And some of these recipes, particularly the oldest recipes, were so specific on what to do or what you were doing with the whites. I just felt that challenge was a little bit too much. So for this one, I'm doing a couple things in here that I have a feeling we're going to regret or possibly will screw up, but that's part of the fun. So the recipes themselves, straightforward: 2 cups sugar, no problem. 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, no problem. 1 cup Borden's prepared eggnog. Now, it is the Borden's recipe book, so of course they're calling for Borden's. Unfortunately, I do not have Borden's eggnog, but I did find eggnog, which I wasn't 100% sure I'd find in October, but I did find eggnog. 1/4 cup of Borden's homogenized milk. I will admit, I had to do a quick Google. What is milk now? Is it still homogenized? I know it's pasteurized. Turns out the milk that Borden's makes now is both pasteurized and homogenized. So I fit the bill with that one. A tablespoon of corn syrup. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, that was harder than I thought it should be, because It just says corn syrup. Now, if you go to the grocery store, at least the 2 grocery stores I went to, there is no such thing as corn syrup. There is light corn syrup, there is dark corn syrup, or there's light syrup, which is the corn syrup with fewer calories. So what I figured out was that the light corn syrup and the dark corn syrup had nothing to do with calories or fat content or anything. It was simply to do with color. Well, I was making fudge, so I decided I should go dark. We'll see if I regret that decision, because there's nothing else in here to give it color, because the last ingredient is a teaspoon of vanilla. So we're doing Light Opera Fudge, which, now that I say that out loud, makes me think I probably should have gotten the light corn syrup. Oh well. The recipe instructions seem relatively straightforward, with the exception of the need... Well, we'll cover some of the details as I go through making the recipe. So let's pull out all the ingredients. All right, so I'm not going to quite get into the true mise en place of baking or cooking, but I'm at least going to have all the ingredients pulled out so that I can go through the steps relatively straightforward. So right off the bat, we've got the sugar, little free plug to Domino. Feel free to sponsor me if you'd like. Domino sugar, got that. That happened to be sugar that I already had. The salt, one moment. Look, salt. Every time I see a canister of salt like this, all I can think of is the scene in Hocus Pocus where she surrounds herself by salt to protect herself from the witches. So we've got salt. Okay. Mentioned I couldn't find Borden's eggnog, but I think this is a fairly good substitute. Southern Comfort eggnog. Now, it does say right on there it's non-alcoholic, and it is ultra pasteurized, which I'm not even sure what that means, but it is more than enough because I think I only need 1 cup, but this was the smallest container of eggnog I could find. So Southern Comfort eggnog to the rescue. Then I needed to do the corn syrup. As we established, I probably should have got the light corn syrup since I was doing the Light Opera Fudge, but I'm a rebel. I got dark corn syrup. So 0 grams of high fructose, 0 grams of high fructose corn syrup. It is corn syrup. So I'm already baffled. And I will also throw a little fun, I don't mean to insult Caro in any way. I'm sure they thought greatly about this idea. But they actually have a little thing on the side that says it's an easy measure for 1 cup. Easy for whom? Because you would be measuring out the cup and that little line would suddenly no longer be relevant. So you'd be popping it back. Oh, not enough. Oh, not enough. Oh, not enough. Oh, too much. So I'm not exactly sure what was easy about that, but hey, I like marketing. It's a gimmick. Yay, Caro. So, got the corn syrup, and I have... Thought I forgot it there for a second. I have the pure vanilla extract. I think that's what I need to use. It just says flavoring. There was a couple different versions of it. This seemed to be like middle of the road. I think it's the Target brand. So, like I said, I went to 2 different places trying to find things, but I happened to find the vanilla at the Target. So I've got the vanilla extract. That is actually all the ingredients I need. And so now I need to measure them out and start following the instructions. To give myself brownie points for my own video, I'm going to use a vintage mixing bowl. So this is my Hazel Atlas Crisscross, the largest size in the mixing bowl set. So I'm going to use that to mix the ingredients together. So the first one is the 2 cups of sugar, my non-vintage. Actually, you know what? These might be getting close to being vintage because it's entirely possible these were a wedding gift. Lasted longer than the marriage. So anyway, my measuring cup. Two-cup sugar. So the instructions are combine sugar, salt, eggnog, milk, and corn syrup in a saucepan. Oops. Well, I'm going to start with this. Pampered Chef, not vintage. 1 cup of eggnog. Now I do think it's worth noting that for the milk, not only did I get Borden's brand milk, I got whole milk. I cannot tell you the last time I bought whole milk or ate whole milk or drank whole milk. But I figured for something that already has eggnog in it, it seemed kind of pointless to put skim milk into this. So we're going whole hog with the milk. In one of the most wasteful purchases, I now need to take 1 tablespoon out of this ginormous bottle. And now, to correct my mistake from the first step, I will take everything that's in the mixing bowl and put it into the saucepan. I'm just going to start that this was maybe a bad idea. Let's see what happens when it gets heated up. Time to relocate. So, oh, I already screwed it up. Low heat. There we go. Cook over low heat, stirring constantly. Oops. Stirring constantly until sugar is dissolved and mixture begins to boil. Okay, I can do that. It's very thick. I'm assuming it's because there's more sugar in here than anything. I do feel like all of the sugar has dissolved, but it is not boiling yet, so I kind of guess I need to wait for that next step. It's boiling. Okay, so now what should be the easier part, continue cooking without stirring until small amount of mixture forms soft ball when dropped in cold water. What? So it's boiling. So I'm going to make a little bowl of cold water. Look, he has a friend. I'm not supposed to stir, but every part of me makes me think I should be stirring this so it doesn't boil over. This would be very messy if it boiled over. I'm going to put this in the water, but I don't think it's going to do anything. Nope, did not form a small ball. Still looks pretty liquidy, but I'm going to try the water trick again. No ball, but it looks like it's getting thicker. Still not a ball, but it's starting to stick to the bottom. So I'm a little concerned of what this is going to turn into. It's starting to change colors, which either means it's getting close to being done or it's burning. All right, if I decided to pick that up, I think I can make a ball out of that. I think we're done. Again, not appetizing. Now, remove from heat. I can do that. The one downside to California. So, remove from heat, cool to lukewarm, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Probably would have helped if I had a candy for thermometer, wouldn't it? And then I add the vanilla. All right, well, right now it's still boiling. So I guess we wait for it to cool. I'll be back. Okay, so I add a teaspoon of the vanilla. Whisk. Easier said than done. Says I'm supposed to beat until creamy. Well, I don't see how I'm going to beat with this. Too flexible. So let me try this. Is acting more like caramel than fudge. What transpires next is a series of absolutely insane activities where I silently try to salvage whatever it is I was making. It involved multiple bowls. It involved adding additional eggnog. It involved heating things. It involved trying to stir desperately. All along, seeing that this was not going where it needed to go, but refusing to admit failure until the very last minute. And then this happened. How'd that happen? Well, this is the aftermath. And let me just say, I don't think it's supposed to look like this. I need to go back and watch the video of me trying to finish it because something went wrong and I know which step it went wrong in, and I'm just not really sure if I was able to fix it. So here's what I came up with. It didn't always look like this, and I'm not really sure it's going to taste very good because there's stuff in it like this. Looks like kibble. Yeah, you heard that. It's rock hard. Let's do it again. Here's another piece. Let's drop it in the bowl. Yeah, that's not sounding like fudge. So I don't know what I did. Something about the cooling down. I think what I did was I let it maybe cool down too far, because then when I tried to beat it, it was like caramel. It wasn't doing anything. So then I made maybe the mistake of heating it back up, thinking, oh, if it was malleable when it was hot, let's heat it up again. Well, I think I went through some weird crystallization process and I don't know what I created. So we're gonna let this cool. I don't have high hopes. It took over an hour just to get to this point, so totally not worth it. But we'll see if the finished product is remotely edible. Wish me luck. Okay, it's the next morning. It's chilled, pretty solid. At least it's not moving around like it was last night. I'm gonna try and cut into it. All right, I didn't make fudge. I'm not 100% sure what I did make. I made some level of caramel. This is not fudge. But as part of the challenge, I get to eat it. Well, except for the very weird crunchy pieces of that fudge shrapnel that I had made that went into it, it's actually pretty good. I like caramel. Don't normally eat it off of a knife, but living dangerously. It's actually pretty good. It's just not fudge. I feel like it could be like an ice cream topping or something. Because you pretty much will have to spoon it out. There are worse things. So clearly I screwed up. No big shock there. Wow, this is sweet. Like it's still in my mouth as like there's just a lot of sugar in this. But it is good. I'm actually somewhat curious where the color came from, because other than that tablespoon of dark corn syrup, I didn't put anything dark in there, so I don't know if that meant did I burn it? I don't know, because that's not what eggnog looks like. And I'm not sure Light Opera Fudge, not sure the light really fit, but no, not light, not fudge. I'll live with opera, so I made an opera something. Again, there are worse things. Ooh, that is sweet. I don't know what I'm gonna do to get the taste out of my mouth. It's not a bad taste. It's just, yeah, got my sugar content for the week. But that is my Trusty's birthday party. I'm not sure if I served that at my birthday party, anybody would have actually eaten it. Oh well, I tried. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Hope you had more fun watching it than I had making it. You know, in the end, I guess it's fine. But again, this was a lot of work for a failed dish. But at least it is edible. I guess there are worse things that could have happened. So I hope this will be hopefully now part of a playlist. So if you found this all on its own, go back into the description of the video and I will link to the rest of the playlist for the other vintage recipes that were also posted as part of #Trusty's birthday party. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you for participating in some virtual way, celebrating my 51st birthday. And I appreciate you giving me your time and appreciate you putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye and finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my